Hello, book lovers and English learners. Welcome to our November live read along. I'm Lydie Bureau. I'm an English teacher in France, and I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, a book club for learners of English. In this book club, I host live readings and workshops on adaptations of classics of English literature and contemporary novels in their original text. I also tend to prioritize books that are written by women. Each month, we read and explore a different book for all levels of English. And 3 times a month, I meet the members of the book club in a live workshop session via Zoom to discuss the chapters read over the week so that the members can improve their speaking and critical thinking skills. This is where the magic happens. This is where you, as an English learner, you have the chance to express yourself and practice your speaking. But I would say if you have read the book that we are currently reading and you're a native speaker, then it's fine. You can definitely join us, and you will have it would be an added value to our book club if you're just someone that wants to share their views on the book that we are reading and just want to be part of this community of book lovers and discuss female writers' work, then you're more than welcome, definitely. So this month we are reading the A2 plus adaptation of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. She is an American writer from the 19th century. This is a 2022 adaptation from the publisher Penguin Readers. And if you want to know more about the novel and, well, the original text, which is this book here, you can see here the difference between the two books. Hi, thank you for joining the live. Tell me where you're from and what's your level of English, or maybe if you're a native speaker, let me know. If you want to know more about the novel and the author, then I invite you to listen to the podcast episode, an introduction, 26, sorry. Episode 26, an introduction to Edith Wharton and the Age of Innocence, which is available on my YouTube channel, Lydie's Book Club, and on the Spotify podcast, Read in English. This way you have a deeper understanding of the work and her life and work, and on the story, The Age of Innocence. Hi, Abda. Thank you. Tell me where you from and what level of English? What is your level in English? Let me know. Also, you can find out more about Edith Wharton writing about writing The Age of Innocence with the online exhibit on the Mount's website. The Mount is the place, well, the house where Edith Wharton lived before she moved to France. And it is now a museum, and you can find the link of this online exhibit. You will find archives of first manuscripts and other information about the process of her writing. And you can find this online exhibition in the link in the description of this video. Right. Okay, from Niamey, where is this? Where is it in the world? I'm not sure where this country is, or this town. Tell me a little bit more about it. So today it is our third live reading session of the Age of Innocence, and we are going to read chapters 7 and 8. And this morning, I hosted the first live workshop in which we covered chapters 1 to 4. So we had an amazing session with Katie, our member, and I hope that you'll be able to attend to join us for the next workshop session. You can still join even if you haven't attended the first live session. So you just need, if you want to attend our next workshop session next Saturday, you just need to subscribe to the book club by clicking on the link in the description. And once you land on the subscribing page, you will find all the upcoming dates of the live readings and the workshops after that. Yeah. Last information. Next Wednesday, I'm hosting a brand new live event. If you're following me on social media, Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen the information. So I'm interviewing my dear friend Emma Quinn. She is an Irish interior designer, and she released this book recently, and I'm going to interview her to know more about her work and how she came about to write this book, and just ask her a lot about what she talks about in this book. And I hope that you will be able to join us. For that, you just need to book your ticket, book your seat, and to attend the live discussion. You can find the link in the description as well. And this way you'll be able to attend the live discussion and have a chance to ask your questions at the end of the conversation. And the live interview will be on next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central European time, so Paris time. And I hope that you'll be able to join us. It's going to be an amazing way to practice your listening skills as an English learner, especially that she's from Ireland, so she has a strong accent. But I'm sure that you'll be able to understand her, and it's going to be a good practice anyway. So I definitely encourage you to join the conversation and learn more about her book. She designed the book, the illustrations as well, the graphics inside the book. She talks about mindset, about tools to overcome anxiety and overcome obstacles that many women face. And I'm sure that it will be inspiring. Right. So that being said, if you have any questions, please send me a message, a private message, and I'll be happy to answer you, or just comment in this video. That's fine as well. Any questions that you might have, don't hesitate to message me, and I'll be happy to answer you. Right. Now, let's get started. So as usual, I'm going to recap the chapters that we read last Wednesday. So we read chapter 5 and 6. And in these chapters, in chapter 5, let me remind myself about what we read. It's a good way to refresh our memories. Um, so in this chapter called Running Away, we meet yes, we learn that Newland Archer, has left New York. Yes, he hasn't heard from the Countess for a couple days and or weeks, and he has heard that she is in Skytacliff, and which is outside New York. And he learned that she was there at her um, and that she was invited. Yes, she was invited by the Vanderlydens and to stay in their um, holiday house. Um, so he went over there to visit Countess Olenska. And as he was meeting her, uh, Mr. Beaufort, Julius Beaufort, arrived as well the same time. Uh, he arrived as he had an important information for the Countess. Um, yes, about the fact that he had found a house for her. So Newland Archer is a little bit jealous about Julius Beaufort interrupting their uh, um, their chats and their time together. So he's a little bit annoyed. He doesn't like Mr. Beaufort, and he wished that he wasn't there and that the Countess would get rid of him. But he is so kind to her that she can only say thank you. And I can't remember after what happened, what she says about well, she thanks him about the house. Because she's planning on, yeah, moving out. Um, yes. Yes, and the Countess is quite amazed how um, about how much Julius Beaufort is invested in her um, in finding her a little place, a new place to live. But she's grateful. And Archer goes back to New York, um, and he feels quite bored about his job, and it seems like he's missing her. And eventually, he decided to visit May Welland, so his fiance, in where is she? She is spending time with her parents in St. Augustine, in the family home, in the holiday home of her parents. And that wasn't planned. He wasn't meant to visit her because she's spending time with her parents. And he did it anyway. He just surprised her. So obviously, May is um, delighted to see him. And again, he's there to kind of convince her to move the date forward for the wedding. So remember, Newland is quite in a hurry to get married as soon as they can. Although May doesn't understand why he's so in such a hurry. And so he is quite is insisting quite a lot about moving the date. And eventually he manages to convince her and the parents to move the date in April instead of waiting for a whole year. So it seems like they will get married in perhaps, so it's winter, so let's imagine that that's in 6 weeks, 6 months or so. Yeah. So there isn't, yeah. So here they decide to, no, sorry, in chapter 5, they still haven't, um, now my mistake. In chapter 5, um, they haven't decided. Yes, yes, he's insisting on moving the date forward, so he would like them to get married in April. And May is still undecided at this point. Yes, so I spoiled you. They haven't accepted yes to move. Yeah, they haven't accepted to. Well, she is not quite. Yeah, she's not on board. Yes, to move the date and talk to her parents about it. And the fact that he's insisting a lot makes May quite suspicious about the real reasons why he wants to get married. And she's, for the first time, May is speaking freely. She's speaking her mind freely about what she sense, and she feels that he is seeing someone else. Um, and she is very open about it, and she tells him that if he loves someone else, that she wouldn't want um, to be an obstacle for him if he loves someone else, or if he's seeing someone else. So we can see that perhaps May feels that there is something going on with him and his cousin, because she knows they've been seeing each other, but she doesn't say it. She doesn't talk about. She doesn't mention Ellen when she says that. When she tells him that perhaps he's in love with someone else. But he reassures her very quickly, telling her that there is no one else, that he only loves her, and that he promised himself to no one else but her. So May again go back to her old self and is happy as a clam. In chapter 6, um, called Marriage is Marriage, we meet a new character, Mrs. Medora, sorry, Mrs. Medora Manson, which is who is Ellen's aunt from Cuba, and she's visiting her niece, and she is the woman who raised Ellen, and she is a very original character. He's a bohemian in a way. She's lived through in Europe. She traveled, and she's a free and independent woman. She does her own way. She does it her own way, and she raised Ellen um, in this kind of free spirit um, um, mentality in a way. So um, Newland is visiting Ellen when he meets his aunt instead in the living room. Um, and I can't remember why. Yes, the problem is that her aunt, Ellen's aunt, has heard about the divorce people, well, the request, the divorce case that her niece wants to get a divorce, but it's not uh, from the taste of the her aunt. She's actually saying to Newland that her life is not here in New York, but in Europe, in with her husband, where she will be surrounded by artists and art, music, and quality conversation, not like here in comparison to the poor level of culture in New York. Um, this is what she implies here, what she says, where she and where she is a nobody in New York, whereas in Europe she is regarded as a countess and she has a status. So so she sees that a married man send flowers to her, and Newland have a bouquet of flowers with him? No. Um, no. Anyway, and so she is quite worried about her niece um, being surrounded by predators in a way, by married men who send her flowers. And remember, although Newland is not married, he's engaged, and he also sent her flowers, although he didn't sign the card. But we know as readers that he um, sent her flowers. And then the Ellen's aunt leaves the room because she is uh, she's invited she has been invited to somewhere. Can't remember. Um, she's about to go out, so she leaves the house, and the Countess and Newland are alone, free to discuss, and And we learn, well, this chapter is revealing, in this chapter, they reveal their feelings to each other. We learn that Newland is in love with her and she is in love with him. And they tell each other. Um, he says that he says, Ellen, you're the woman that I want to marry, only it will never be possible. But it was you who made it impossible. So that they're arguing because she revealed that it's only because um, she she only she refused, well, she accepted the condition of not accepting the divorce just because uh, of him and May and their marriage, their engagement. So she sacrificed herself, her love for him, to so that they could there would not um, there will no there won't be any scandal around the marriage, around her divorce that would shadow their wedding and their engagement. So she tells him that now it's impossible. I'm nothing will happen between us because you also made me choose my husband against my freedom. And so, Abda, you were saying I try to follow, but it's difficult with my little English level. Ah, but um, it's okay. It's with practice. The more you listen, the more you will improve your English. Um, what level are you a beginner? A1, A2? This book is A2 plus. You see? So tell me if you're A1, A1 plus, A2. Well, I can understand clearly your sentence. So to me, I would say in terms of writing, you should be intermediate because you're able to formulate a sentence and a question as well. So this is a A2 plus. So maybe if you're not used to hearing English, that's why you find it difficult. But it's a practice. The more you listen to English, the better you will understand. And do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to videos on YouTube? Tell me a little bit about your English. Um, do you have English lessons? Are you students or do you work? Tell me a little bit more about yourself. And I'm going to start the reading of chapter 7. So now I've been speaking about the book. I'm going to read now. Okay, so you will see if you understand the text. Okay. So of course, so they argue and they're sad, both sad about the situation. They're stuck. Uh, he is about to get married. She can't divorce because it's going to look bad on the family. and being together. So basically being together is impossible. Right. So let's get started with the reading of chapter 7, A Perfect Wedding. So chapter 7 seems to correspond to the second book. So the original text is divided in two books. So book 1 is what we read so far, all the events that happened in book 1 was until chapter 6. And now let me find book 2 so you can see. Yes. So here is book 2. So that was great. So that's book 1 here, and now it's a book 2. Okay, and that's from chapter 19. Yeah. Okay. Book 2 starts with a wedding. Archer waited at the front of the church. Everything was perfect. The sun was shining, the spring flowers were wonderful, and the wedding ring was safe in his jacket. Archer looked around at the friends and family filling the church and back toward the door. There was no sign of May and her father. As he watched, the door opened and Mrs. Medora Manson entered the church. Archer's heart beat fast as he watched the door behind her. Mrs. Manson and Countess Olenska were living together in Washington, and he was not expecting them here at the wedding. So Countess Olenska and her aunt are at the wedding. He continued to watch the door. Hopefully, well, only the aunt so far. So we'll see if the Countess is there as well. He continued to watch the door, hopefully, but no one followed Mrs. Manson into the church. Archer's heart seemed to stop, and he felt himself fall into a dream. So she's not there. The Countess, Ellen Olenska, is not at the wedding with her aunt. Although it's her cousin's wedding, you would expect that she would be there, but she's not. In the carriage outside, he heard his voice say, "I was so frightened of losing the ring. I kept thinking of all the terrible things that might happen." May surprised him by throwing her arms round his neck. "Newland, nothing terrible can ever happen now that we are together," she said. After so much careful planning, everything about the day went perfectly, from the wedding breakfast at Mrs. Mingott's to arriving on time at the station for the journey out of New York. As the train went north along the Hudson River, May talked happily about the wedding. "I was surprised that Aunt Medora came," she said. "Ellen wrote in her last letter that neither of them was well enough to travel. I'm sorry that Ellen was still unwell. She sent such a beautiful gift." So it seems that Ellen didn't show up because she's sick. She was sick. "Yes, no, it was beautiful," Archer began, looking at May without seeing her. How could he stop his carefully built-up world falling down each time he heard that name? He took May's hand in his. Aren't you tired? He asked quietly. Not at all, she answered. Oh, Newland, what a wonderful time we're always going to have together. Bright green grass stretched away to the shining blue sea. It was summer, the year after the wedding. So a whole year passed, okay? And it's summer. Archer was standing outside of the Beaufort's house in Newport, Rhode Island. He was watching the young women of the Newport Archery Club. Archery is this game. In their pretty summer dresses, as they send their arrows towards the targets. Archer did not want to go to Newport for the summer, but it was where the Wellens and most of New York high society always went. And he did not want to hurt May or her family. He was lucky to be married to one of the most beautiful and kindest young women in New York. The idea of marrying Countess Olenska was now a past dream, which had no part at all in his real life. Beaufort walked across the grass towards him, looking older, heavier, and redder in the summer sunshine. There was a lot of talk about Beaufort, about a woman called Fanny Ring, and about the expensive gifts that he bought both her and his wife. And there was talk, too, about the wild mistakes he was making with money. So basically, Mr. Beaufort is having an affair to explain here the situation. Mr. Beaufort is having an affair with Fanny Ring, and so he's cheating on his wife. And also, he's playing with money. Here we read the wild mistakes he was making with money. So maybe he's investing money or gambling, or he's not being cautious with money. He's spending money a lot. May's going to the archery, Beaufort announced to Archer. But that's the only target she'll ever hit. Archer felt angry. He should not care if this vulgar man did not like his wife, because he thought that she was too nice. Yet the words made Archer afraid of something, that behind May's beautiful face and kind behavior, there was nothing. On their way home, May said suddenly, I heard that Aunt Medora and Ellen are staying in Portsmouth. Medora doesn't like Newport. Sorry. Oh, yes, it's still May talking. Medora doesn't like Newport, but Ellen agreed to leave Washington at last for a holiday. Archer's heart seemed to stop. Shall we go see Granny? May went on. I'd like to tell her about winning the archery. Archer agreed and drove the carriage toward a rocky area of land, away from the center of New York, where old Mrs. Mingott had her summer house. So remember, Mrs. Mingott is May's grandmother, yeah? Mrs. Mingott was happy to see them and asked about the archery. Wait, Ellen may want to hear about it too. Is Ellen here? May asked in surprise. She's come to visit me from From Portsmouth for the day, replied Mrs. Mingott. I don't understand why she hides herself there. Then she called out, Ellen! Ellen! But only a servant appeared. Miss Ellen has gone down to the sea, said the servant. Mrs. Mingott turned to Archer. Can you run down and get her? You must see her before you go. Archer stood up in a dream. It was a year and a half since his last meeting with the Countess. In that time, he sometimes heard her name, and he knew a little about her life in Washington. But until today, she seemed part of another life. He thought back to the last time they met, by the fire in her little sitting room. He followed the path through the garden, down the hill, toward the sea. Between the trees, he could see a pier stretching out into the water. So that's a pier. So you see, so the Countess is here, very small here, with her dress. You can see the wind, and she is over there, and Newland is around here. Okay. He watched the woman, he followed the path through the garden, down the hill, toward the sea. Between the trees, he could see a pier stretching out into the water. At the end of it, a woman was standing with her back to the garden, looking out to sea. Archer stopped. He watched the woman on the pier and the sailing boats out at sea. The sun was low and threw a soft yellow light over the water. A picture of yellow roses suddenly came into Archer's mind. She doesn't know that I'm here, he thought. Then he said to himself, if she doesn't turn around before that boat reaches the little island, I will go back. So you see there is a boat here. So he's saying, if the boat goes up to the little island there is a lighting house. Then if she doesn't turn her back, he will not go there. So he's a little bit superstitious here. Yes. He watched the said if she does okay, she doesn't know that I'm here, he thought. Then he said to himself, if she doesn't turn round before the boat reaches the little island, I'll go back. Archer watched and waited. The boat reached the island and sailed on, but the woman on the pier did not move. Archer turned and walked back up the hill toward the house. I'm sorry that you didn't find Ellen, May said as they drove home later. You know, she lives so strangely and uncomfortably since she left New York. It might be better for her to be back with her husband. Archer was shocked. What an unkind thing to say. Surely living with that terrible man couldn't make her happier, he replied. As he stepped inside the Wellens Newport house, Archer felt that this was not his real life. Only the picture in his mind of the woman on the pier was real. So that's the end of chapter 7. So here there are a lot of references to dream and an opposition between dream and reality. What is a dream for him? What is reality? And there is this he's between these two worlds, and what he's dreaming about becomes his reality here. And real life, in a sense, becomes almost unimportant and un unrelevant, irrelevant to him. And and I wonder what you think about this idea, and did this ever happen to you, to feel that you wish that reality, uh, that your dream would be your reality, and or whether you wished you weren't in this place, that you felt that you didn't belong, um, and that you're physically there, but your mind is elsewhere. And I found that really relatable and profound in Newland's realization that the life that he's chosen is not is not necessarily what what he wants in the end. Abda, I don't understand all the text, but it looks like very captivating. Yes, it is a wonderful book. And the thing is, I think what you find difficult um, about understanding the text is that I've started reading the book. So I think to help you understand the story, I would advise you to watch the videos, the first videos on my YouTube channel, Lydia's Book Club. This way you can listen to the first sessions. I read chapter 1, so you have all these chapters, and now we're so I just read chapter 7, so you missed 1 to 6, so it's quite a lot of chapters. So if you want to practice your listening skills in English, then maybe um, listen to the reading of the first chapter of the book, and then you will understand the story and the characters, um, and it will be easier to understand what is going on in the story. Yeah. So you can find the videos, and even in this video, I recorded as well on my laptop, and you can find the recording of this video on YouTube after the live. Once I finish the live, then I will post the video, the reading, what I'm doing now, on YouTube. Okay, Lydia's Book Club. I can type. That's my YouTube channel. And this way you can listen. Lydia's Book Club. You can you can listen at your own pace, and you can put the subtitles on the YouTube video. You see, so you will be able to read what I'm saying. Sorry, not here. So you'll be able to read what I'm saying, and that will help you in improving your English and your understanding. Yeah? Great. Right, chapter 8, living a lie. A lie, do you understand what lying is? To lie is when you're not saying the truth. Yeah? So lie, living a lie. Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. Archer could not stop thinking about Ellen. She might come to visit her grandmother again, he told himself. Or I could go to Portsmouth. If I could see the places where she walks, the world might seem less empty. But a week later, he learned that the Countess was in Boston at the Parker House Hotel. Early the next morning, Archer took the train to Boston, telling May that Mr. Letterblair, remember, Mr. Letterblair is his boss, wanted, so he said, May, that Mr. Letterblair wanted him there on business. So he lies to May. At 9:30 a.m., he was walking down the hot, crowded streets to the Parker House Hotel. Suddenly, there was Ellen on a seat under a tree. He moved slowly toward her, and then she turned. Oh, she said, and for the first time, he was surprised. He saw surprise on her face. Then she smiled. Archer sat down by her side. I'm here in business, he said. But what are you doing here? Are you alone? He did not know what he was saying. I'm on business too, she answered. Are you meeting someone? He asked, jealous thoughts quickly filling his mind. Yes, my husband wants me to go back to him. He'll give me money that was mine, but I won't go, not for any amount of money. Archer jumped up angrily and walked away for a moment before turning and standing in front of her. Is your husband here? She looked at him and then laughed. No, of course not. He sent his secretary with a message. Archer could not bear to hear that word. He remembered the stories about her running away with the secretary. Has that person gone? He asked. Not yet. I promised to think about it before I answer. They sat for a moment without speaking. I can't breathe in this hot weather, Archer said at last. Let's go out on a boat. It won't be as hot on the water. Ellen looked up at him, unsure how to reply. Don't be afraid, he said. I only want to hear about your life in Washington. It seems like 100 years since we met. Why didn't you come and get me from the pier that day at Granny's? She said. Uh-huh. So here we learned that she knew that he was behind her. Remember on the pier? When she was here, remember this passage? She was over there on the pier. She turned her back to him and she knew he was there, but she didn't turn her back. She was waiting for him to come. Please, where are you from? I'm from France. And you? Tell me, you said that you were from Nemea? What was the word? Niamey? Where is that? Why didn't you come and get me from the pier that day at Granny's? She said. Because you didn't look around. You didn't know that I was there. I did. I heard your voice in the house, so I went down to the pier. To get away from me? To get away from you, she said with that smile again. He laughed. You can't get away from me. My business in Boston was just to find you. Now, let's go. So here reveals that actually he came for her. Soon they were out on the sea, away from the hot, crowded streets of Boston. The boat took them to their village, where they ate lunch in a quiet restaurant. Look at these two beautiful. So that's Newland Archer and that's the Countess having their best time together. Archer preferred not to talk about himself. He only wanted to hear about Ellen's life in Washington. New York society is kind, but I'm too different to be part of it, she told him. I needed a change. I wanted other people and other ideas. If we're so boring, why don't you go back to Europe? He said crossly. She did not answer for a while. I believe that it's because of you, she said at last. You've helped me to understand something. Things may appear boring on the outside, but inside there is something very important, which we mustn't lose. You've made me a better person. But what have you made me? He cried. I got married because you told me to. Making her a little guilty. So here, it's quite typical of men making putting themselves as victims. So you told me to get married, so I did it. So now it's your fault that we're not together. To blame yourself. Not owning the fact that he chose May. I got married because you told me to. You promised not to speak of these things today, she said, because we must always think of May. We gave things up for her. We gave things up for her to stop her being unhappy. In Europe, no one cared about making others happy. They put themselves first. That's what I wanted to get away from. But you opened my eyes to real life. And then you asked me to live a lie. I can't bear it, said Archer. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that. When I have to bear it, said Ellen, beginning to cry. So you're not the only one suffering here. He saw in her face how much pain she was feeling and was shocked. But you won't go back, he said. I won't, as long as we can stay like this. He understood her perfectly. She wanted to be close to him, but he must not come nearer. Is that all there can be? Is that all there can be for us? He stood up and moved toward her. She got up too, and stretched out her hands to meet his. At the same time, her arms were holding him back. Don't be unhappy, she said. Don't go back, he answered. And that's the end of chapter 8. This is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the live reading, Ada, and that you will join our next live reading next week. And you continue to listen to the story and that you will, keep on listening to the reading and listening to English, improving your English. And I hope you guys will continue listening to the reading of this adaptation of the Age of Innocence. I hope you enjoy this live reading. Make sure that you subscribe to the book club membership to attend our second live workshop next week. Just subscribe to the book club in the link via the link in the description. Have a beautiful end of the day, and I will see you next Wednesday, 1 p.m. And there is a slight change of timing. Usually it's 2, but next Wednesday it's going to be a little bit earlier. So at 1 p.m. Central European time or Paris time, I'll meet you for a 5th live read-along session of The Age of Innocence. We will read chapter 9 and 10. Bye.